So hi, good evening. Meeting for the first time? Obviously meeting for the first time. Though I have seen you in the galleries many a times, taking to stairs and lifts, but generally you don't take stairs, you always wait at lift. So, so it's art and culture class, and I hope you must be knowing at least about me. कुछ पता है या नहीं पता है, ठीक है? चलो, but this is a formality. I'll have to do it then. So my name is Neeraj Rao, and I'm one of the oldest faculty of the institute, who is responsible for many of the sections of the history, including ancient, medieval, art and culture, modern Indian history. So I think modern is completed in your batch. Chalo, so I think it started with the modern. It started with the modern, and you have done with some of the practicals of the art and culture also. Music sessions has happened in the class, so theoretical part I'll be dealing. Practical तो हो चुका है क्लास में. नहीं समझ में आया ना? ट्यूबलाइट हो तुम लोग. चलो, so we'll start with the art and culture, and as you know that I will not have to explain. So this part of the syllabus is there in both the stage of the exam, in prelims also, mains also, and at the same point of time, I hope you know that how many questions from last 10, 15 years they are asking from this particular section. So as far as the prelims exam is concerned, you can average number of the question in last 12 years has been 6 questions. Okay? So average number of the question in prelims is 6. And when it comes to mains, so average number of questions has been 3. Okay? So has been 3. For example, in 2022. Okay? So in 2022, 4 questions were there from the culture in the mains paper. Then uske pehle wale saal mein 2 questions were there. So generally what they do, 2, 3, 2, 3. This is how they are giving, and some year they will stump you by giving 4 to 5 questions. Then, and there hasn't been a paper. So for example, that you must have seen in the other history sections like world history, post-independence, almost they don't ask. Then that these sections have become a kind of just a kind of a symbolic thing in the paper. Very rarely they ask. Sometimes after 3 years they do ask a question from the world history, but then post-independence is one thing which hasn't been asked from very long time. Then very first year in 2013 they asked 3 questions, and then after there was none. In reality there was none. Then so for claiming purpose, people do claim here and there, but otherwise there was none. So these 2 sections are becoming kind of a symbolic in these times. I'm not saying that you must not study, but I'm just telling you the trend what has been there. Then similarly, so when we come to this particular part, so when compared to the modern Indian history part, so what has happened that though the questions of the modern in prelims examination are still intact, 6 to 7 questions, nowadays they have reduced in the modern, and earlier they used to ask 8 to 9 questions, but now culture and modern has been in kind of that equivalent level. And when you add ancient and medieval, so it increases a little bit extra. Similarly, from last 4 or 5 years in the mains examination, they have asked little less number of the questions from the modern and more from this particular section. Acha, have you completed art, ancient medieval also? All the classes. So ancient medieval both. So understand one thing, that's in syllabus of the mains examination, ancient and medieval nahi mentioned hai, theek hai? But then time and again UPSC has stumped by asking a question from the ancient and medieval in mains also. theek hai? तो ऐसा नहीं समझना कि art and culture is the only thing which is mentioned. Ancient and medieval, sometimes they do ask a specific historical question also. So what you need to see in the mains stage of exam in history, that is particularly modern Indian history, ancient medieval, then apart from it, art and culture. And world history is also the part of the mains exam, and so as the post-independence. In prelims examination, what all things you need to read? Ancient medieval, art and culture, and modern Indian history. So modern part you are complete, and ancient and medieval you are complete. So chalo, without wasting time, and see that we have been assigned, that this culture section has been assigned 14 classes. So we will achieve much things in this 14 classes. So let's see, I will entail that what all things we are going to study. But before that, I just want to know a few things from you. That first of all, This would never be asked in the exam. But I want to know that what is your understanding of culture? What do you understand by what is culture? Be participative. It is a dialogue. Okay? This class is a dialogue, which does not mean that you will be indulging in any questions which are redundant. Then, so relevant question you can always ask, and then be participative in the process. So tell me that what is your understanding of culture, or what is culture? Everything that observes. Okay, way of living itself is a complete thing. Okay? So when you say way of living, so that itself is a complete explanation. So what comes under the way of living? So for example, in way of living, the way you dress, the way you speak, the language that you speak, dialect, your tradition, your faith, your religion, then fairs, festivals. So everything comes under your way of life. Then, so culture is a way of life. That is a very simple definition. Okay? Then apart from it, the next question which follows, that why it is important to study culture, or in other words, I just want to ask that you are preparing for the civil services exam. You will be a civil servant. You might be a IAS officer, IPS or IFS, or any services of the government which is under this civil services category. So why it is important for you as a civil servant to know the culture of India? Why it is important? How it helps? Okay, so it's all about sensitizing the civil servants, as you say, that sensitizing the civil servants about the culture, and people are very sensitive about the culture. So that's what he said. Then from this side, anyone, or from this side, any side? Yeah, please. ठीक है. So he is saying exactly what is required. So that being that civil servant, you are the one who is going to be a policy maker, and while policy making, you need to understand the culture of a particular place or culture of a particular people. Otherwise the policy may go haywire, meaning that if policy is not supporting or is not respectful towards the culture of a particular area, so then it will not be functional. It will become non-functional, or maybe it may lead to some sort of protest and movement also. So you need to be very much understandable. You need to be developing this ability of understanding the cultures of the different parts of India. And not just like this, but I'll tell you something different related to it also. So first of all, let's talk about this, that why you need to understand the culture. So as you said, policy making. Now understand another thing, that culture is the identity. That is the reality. That culture is our very first identity is our culture. So whenever you go to any different place, so you are identified by your culture. Even within India itself, you are identified by different culture. So for example, that from the very first class, I don't think that this must have been the numbers in the class, but then now it has reduced. Some of you must have cleared the exam by this point of time. So yeah, no, नहीं बहुत तरह के एग्जाम लोग क्लियर करने आते हैं यहाँ पे. So just like that last year paper, there were questions which were how many pairs are correct. So people clear the exam in pairs also. So so now let's come to this part. Now understand that I'll give you just a few examples. That when you come to the class, so very first thing that you do, that you try to find a person from your own linguistic area, then so that you can conversate. And this happens in each and every class, that people belonging to a particular area, they sit together. And then after, later on, the friendships happen, okay, when you mix up. But in the beginning, this is what you do. Then apart from it, then let's go to the other examples. So other examples, I am using one example from very long time. And in fact, it's been last 12 years, but this is very relevant example. So in 2001, 26th of January, there was a very severe earthquake in Gujarat, okay? Bhuj area, Bhujanjar, and large number of people were dead in this particular earthquake. So as you know that in the earthquake, okay, what is the usual demand of the people? Food, camp, okay, or basically some shelter, then medicines, then. So these are the things that people will be demanding. And as you know that 2001 in India, it was Atal Bihari Vajpayee's NDA's government. So obviously in at that point of time, India was not that rich. अभी भी rich नहीं है, but then the things have improved a lot. Then, so India was not that good economically. Moreover, in 1998, Pokhran Parmanu Parikshad. Then, so Pokhran nuclear test happened. After that, many sanctions were there on India. So economically, we were not very good at that point of time. We needed assistance of the foreign players. And one of the biggest aid provider or help provider was the US. Then, and at that point of time, Bill Clinton was the president of the US. So there was some personal chemistry between Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Bill Clinton. So then he provided, so US provided one of the biggest help. But you know what happened? After a few days, when people who are demanding these basic necessities, rather than demanding basic necessity and rather than mourning the death of their near and dear ones, they started protest. And you know, protest against whom? US. So the reason is that why protest against US? Because insensitivity of the US officials towards India, and so as the Indian people who are there in the foreign department, they were also very insensitive or not knowing the culture of the Bhuj Anjar area. Bhuj Anjar area is a totally Vaishnavite area, meaning that totally indulge in the Vishnu worship or basically Krishna worship. And moreover, this belt is a vegetarian belt. Then, and when US was providing the food, so they must have provided the vegetarian food, but they were dropping from their choppers, they were dropping the non-vegetarian food. And moreover, in US, it is very normal to put beef into the packets. Then it's normal, but that's not normal in India. Then, so the non-veg was not much issue, but issue was basically the beef, which was in the packets. Then, so this is insensitivity. Then, insensitivity of theirs, and if they don't know, so they needed to understand the culture of the Bhujanjar, then they provide the help. ठीक है? So help करने के लिए कुछ भी help नहीं किया जाता है. ठीक है? उसको क्या जरूरत है वो समझ के help करते हैं. So this is one part, and it is a fault on the part of the Indian foreign officials also, because they must have sensitized the US that this you can't do in this area. Then, so this is one very good example. Second example I'll give you from 1997, Bihar. And as you know that Bihar is one such state which is known for the floods even till this date. Then, so Kosi and the 7 branches of the Kosi always they plenty with the water. Then, now, so in 1997 there was a very severe flood, and then as it is said that more than 1,000 villages were drowned in this particular flood. After that, the rescue operation started. Rescue operations, I hope you know, NDRF, okay? National Disaster Risk Force. So they are the one who started rescuing the people. Large number of people died also, and people from different villages, they are taken from that particular place to different camps, and people from thousands of the villages, they are living in a one big camp. Okay? जैसे पटना में गांधी मैदान है, as you know, many of you must be there from the Patna. So just like that big field and the camps were created, but you know, after some point of time, okay, in these camps, then that the normal demands, obviously the basic necessity of the life, but then unusual demand started, and this unusual demand was made by the females of the camp. Then, and unusual demand was made by the females of the camp. You'll be surprised that it was not any other thing but a commodity of the culture, sindoor. Then, so sindoor. So why they started demanding sindoor? Because what happened in that people living in from camps from thousands of villages, nobody knows about each other then, and women who were in the camp, they were sexually targeted by many of the men. Okay? They were kind of given some sort of, as you say, that lewd offers, lewd remarks were passed on them, and then opportunistic behavior was towards the women, as if that there is nobody in their family, their husbands have died. So now women thought that if we demand the sindoor, if we get the sindoor, even if we don't have our husband, even if they are dead, even the young girls who were not married, they all were putting it on the forehead, so that it will give a deterrence that their husbands are alive. So even the smallest commodity of the culture could be of utmost importance. Then, so this is just one example. Another example, I'll give you examples quickly because we have n number of the things to cover. I hope you're so far with me when it comes to the culture, the importance of the culture. Yes or no? Now, third example I'll give you. Have you heard about this particular that festival or celebration, not festival, a game in Tamil Nadu, Jallikattu. You must have heard about it. So what happens in this Jallikattu, that a small passage, very narrow passage is created, and a bull is forced to run from that particular narrow passage so that its body gets roughed with the wall, and when bull moves out in the open, it gets irritated. So when it gets irritated, so somebody would be there in the front and they would be running. Then, so basically, this is what is the game, and it is a very old game, kind of more than 500 600 years old, which is celebrated in the state of Tamil Nadu. But then, you know, we live in the age of the activist. Then when you don't get any employment, you become activist. Then so some of the activists, they filed the case in the Supreme Court, in the High Court, and then the judgment came that the festival must be banned. But when this particular blanket judgment came that festival must be banned, it must not happen because it is leading to the animal cruelty. So then the entire Tamil community, they rose against it, including the big names that you also know, Rajnikant, A.R. Rahman, Kamal Hassan, everyone, okay, that they said that court's judgment is not right. So here, it's not like that always courts would be correct. Then, so courts had to rethink that it is the culture of the people. Rather than going with the blanket ban which hurts the emotions of the people, sentiments of the people, they must have devised alternative method. They must have said at least कि कोई और तरीका ढूंढ लो बुल को irritate करने का, ठीक है? Not this तरीका of going through the narrow passage. So this blanket ban decision was not good, and it was actually against the emotions of the people. So you can find a number of the examples from all over India where the cultural insensitivity may lead to some sort of fight. And one of the biggest cultural insensitivity which is going on in the world, that is the Jews versus the different other communities. Then, so what Hitler did, that itself was an example of that cultural insensitivity. And time and again, the world boils on the cultural insensitivity. Then, so culture is an identity also. So culture is an identity also. Now, the next question which I need to ask you is that, is the culture a static thing or dynamic? Is it a it is dynamic thing, okay? Because with the changing context, things also change. But there is a basic structure of the culture, okay? So the basic structure of the culture does not changes, but then the new things are always incorporated in the culture. So going back to the old times, India was always known for its spiritual power. And I hope you must have heard about the term soft power also. Then, so spiritual power comes under the soft power, but there is one more soft power of India which has emerged in the modern age, and that soft power I'll tell you later. So I'll start with one such example. I hope all of you know Shashi Tharoor. Okay? It's not just from the angle of that he's a politician, but then how polished guy he is, and then moreover his conversations are full of intellect. Whenever you see that when he is debating with the British officials and British journalists or any other journalist outside India, so you will feel good about him, then that the way he represents the facts. So now he has authored, he was actually working in the UN Commission, and then after he has authored many books on the international relation, Mahabharat, many things then. But there was one book which he was authoring once upon a time. The name of the book was Pax Indica. In 2010 and 11-12, it was a very popular book in the UPSC market also. Then, so he was authoring this book. He was on Amsterdam airport and the flight was delayed for 6 to 7 hours then. So that is the time when he was working on his laptop continuously. And he was also able to see that there was one Dutch man who was staring at him from very long time then. And then finally, after 4 or 5 hours, that Dutchman came to the Shashi Tharoor, and then he said that, I know you're an Indian. Then, so he said, how come you know I'm an Indian? So that you're working on a laptop. So it means that you are an Indian. And I have just one work with you, that can you fix my laptop? So he said that, okay, I'm an Indian, but how come I can fix your laptop? So he said that because Indians are software engineers. So this is the new identity of India in the modern times. That Indians who are basically there in the Europe and America, most of them are software engineer. They are associated with the IT field. Then, so this is what is the new identity which has emerged. So culture is not just the static. Basic structure is there, but it is always dynamic. And those cultures which don't change, they become extinct from the world. Then, so this is one thing about the culture. But then importance of the culture is in many ways then, and one last example I need to give you, okay, because the Indian economy cannot function without its culture. Indian economy is not separate from its culture. In fact, you look at the last 4 years after the COVID, then last 3 years from the COVID, and in this last 3 years, every economy in the world has crumbled, and all our neighbors, they have felt the heat of it. So as Sri Lanka, so as Pakistan, so as Bangladesh has also faced problem. Then, and not just these countries, but you look at the countries in the world, all of them have faced some sort of problems. But then, even if we have not done very good, we have sailed through then in these last 4 years. And one of the attribute, not just about the robust policies which are taken by the government of the day, but then one more thing is to be taken into the consideration, that we are a culture driven economy. So for example, that markets which go down once the Diwali festival comes, everything spices up, okay, everything spices up, the spendings increases, then the buyings increases, then, and then the market liquidity increases in the market. Then apart from it, you can see that India is not just a Diwali economy, but it is a festival economy. You just look at the Durga Puja and just look at the example in the example of the Calcutta in Durga Puja. How much benefit Calcutta gets from the Durga Puja. And you just don't look at the pandals whose worth is around, if you just go in Bengal and ask about that कि ये pandal के price में क्या होगा, so they will be telling you that 4 crore, 5 crore rupees इसमें लग गए. Then, but then if you look at the counter effect, or basically the productivity, it increases. Hotel industry revives, restaurant revives, then cloth industry revives, and every kind of eatery, it is all that revived. So if you just look at it and the way the things happened in the economy, so India's culture is always helping its economy. And in fact, there are some documentaries I would suggest you that you can see on some of the news channels. So for example, that culture or Diwali economy, okay, is also spicing up the US markets also. In fact, if we talk about the culture, so for example, not just India's economy revives with the culture, but so as most of the time, okay, I hope some of you were at your hometowns then, maybe, but pehle rahe ho Diwali mein, and then you must have seen the rice lights. Obviously, we all have seen the rice lights. कहाँ से बन के आता है? China से. So the Diwali is celebrated in India, but the economic benefits of the Diwali is taken by the China, because the production starts little early. And not just this, Holi mein bhi dekho. So you must have seen that the pichkaris which are created from the China and the toys which are created from the China. So most of the time, that majority of the Indian festivals, and if you look at it, so their preparation already starts in the China. Then, so not just Indian economy benefits, but also the world economy. I'll tell you one more last example and then I go into the topic. So can you tell me that agarbatti, Hindi में ही बोल रहा हूँ, ठीक है, agarbatti, all of you know, incense stick. Then, so which country is the largest producer of the agarbatti? No idea. We'll generally say that it is India, but India, sometimes it is India, sometimes it is Vietnam. Then, so in the COVID period, it was Vietnam which was the largest producer of the agarbattis, incense stick. And you know, okay, that not only the incense sticks goes into the Buddhism, but then there is a huge consumption of the agarbattis in the Hinduism. Then, so the major exporter of these incense stick is the India from Vietnam. Then, and it comes to India. So in COVID, they faced problem because the export from the Vietnam was not happening, and in India itself, people were creating their own. So the world economy is very much linked, and if there would not have been the things of the culture, so then it will have been difficult for economies to survive. So ये बस यही example है. एक example जो आज सब लोग जानते हैं, that is your marriage economy, and India is also called as a marriage economy. जहाँ कुछ नहीं होता है वहाँ लगन के सीजन में सब कुछ हो जाता है, ठीक है. तो लड़का लड़की तो मिलते ही हैं, ठीक है, बहुत कुछ होता है. सो नहीं, हाँ वो भी होता है, ठीक है. सो सो नाउ आई होप यू गॉट टू नो दैट इम्पोर्टेंस ऑफ द कल्चर, ठीक है. सो अब तो इसमें से कुछ भी अगर जो कहीं पे किसी भी स्टेज पे इफ दे आर आस्किंग यू अ क्वेश्चन, सो देन यू विल बी एबल टू deal with it then. So now let's start with the topics, ठीक है. So now understand that as I said to you that 14 classes had been allocated for it then, and in these what all chapters we'll be covering. So I'm just writing those chapters on the board. Just give me a minute. So we'll start today with the architecture and sculpture. Architecture and sculpture, this would be the our very first topic that we'll be starting with, and then after completion of this topic we'll start with the religion and philosophy. So I hope you must not have done Buddhism, Jainism in your ancient medieval classes. Kar liya hai? Acha, who taught you ancient medieval? Abhishek and both the portions. Abhishek has taken. Okay. So Buddhism and Jainism will be dealt over here, and then also the Indian philosophy. Then after we'll go to the classical forms of India. So in classical forms, classical dance and classical music. So these two, then classical music, and then we'll go into the topic of the Indian painting, and then the next topic would be language and literature, and the last topic would be Bhakti and Sufi. So language and literature, and so I hope Bhakti Sufi भी नहीं किया होगा, ठीक है, चलो. So I'll cover these all parts. So these are the chapters that we are going to see, 7 chapters and 14 classes. Accordingly, we'll see that how much is to be allocated in a particular section, but understand this particular very first part is the 45% of your syllabus, architecture and sculpture. So it almost takes that 6 classes, ठीक है. So I'll tell you that कि कैसे कैसे इसमें क्या क्या चीजें हैं, but architecture and sculpture will take 6 classes, and then religion and philosophy 2, classical dance 1, music 1, ये दोनों मिला के 2 classes, painting takes 1, language literature takes 1, and then Bhakti and Sufi takes 1. So maximum number of the classes are there in the architecture and sculpture and religion and philosophy, ठीक है. And moreover, religion and philosophy जब देखोगे तो maximum number of the questions when it comes to after architecture and sculpture, so has been asked from the Buddhism and Jainism. So hardly there is a paper of UPSC which is without any question on Buddhism or Jainism, ठीक है. So every year you can expect that कम से कम एक क्वेश्चन तो जरूर आएगा. And prelims exam, in mains exam, ठीक है, little less questions are there from this section, but mains में architecture and sculpture is more dominating. So not only 2 questions you can expect in the prelims, but at least 1 to 2 questions in the mains also. So we'll start with the architecture and sculpture, but उसके पहले since you have already done the ancient parts, so मेरे लिए भी थोड़ा सा easy होगा कि chronology के साथ जाएं, तो then that will not be a difficulty. I hope sometimes I do revert, or sorry, I do go into the Hindi also, so I hope you all are comfortable with it. Or anyways, if I'm using any word in Hindi, so you do not need to be fret over that. I will be translating, so that's not a big problem. But then, as you know, from Northern Belt, so we have a tendency to go into this. So now, with me you also create this classification, ठीक है. अभी जो पहला chapter है, that is architecture and sculpture, we are going to start. And now understand, so in architecture and sculpture we are going to see the 3 periods: ancient period, medieval period, and the modern. So modern here is, it is not about the आज की government का architecture, it is about British architecture, ठीक है. So ancient period is the biggest portion, okay, which includes not only starting from the Indus Valley civilization, but also the entire temple architecture. Then medieval period is mostly related to Delhi Sultanate and Mughals. And then after, the next portion would be the modern, so which is the British architecture. So there we mainly deal with the British architecture and some of the Indian contemporary architecture in the modern period. So as I said to you that I'll divide this topic into 3 sections, ancient, medieval and modern. So पहला काम करो that you write here ancient. So architecture and sculpture as a topic you can write at the top, and ancient architecture. So ancient में, so very first thing we are going to start with Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization. Then after Indus Valley civilization, Mauryan age art. Mauryan age art. I'll write the timeline also. Just give me a little bit of time. So post Mauryan art. Post Mauryan art. Then Gupta age art. And the last one is South Indian art. South Indian architecture. So as far as the timeline is concerned, you have already studied, but then I'm writing 2600 to 1800 BCE is rough period for the Indus Valley. Maurya's age is starting from 321 to 185 BCE. Okay? And post Maurya is basically 185 BCE to 200 AD. You can write it CE also. So common era or Anno Domini, whichever is comfortable to you. As far as the Gupta's reign is concerned, they came in 319 AD and continued till 550 AD. And South Indian architecture, it is a long bracket that we are going to cover, 600 AD to 1100 AD. So this is what would be there in this part. See, this chart is necessary because it is very helpful whenever you are confused. Then so you just look back at this chart, there would be some sort of clarity that what you are reading. And already चूंकि ये हो चुका है your ancient medieval part, so then it will be easier to understand. So now let's go to the next part. Done with the writing, all of you? अच्छा, what date your batch started? कितना time हो गया? Last year? 11th October. So almost 1 year completed. ठीक है? So what all subjects are remaining? एक तो ये बचा है. So society and ethics done? Started. Okay. So anyways, you are closer to the, वो सब छोटा छोटा टॉपिक है. बड़े टॉपिक्स में I was asking social justice is just through 3 classes का चक्कर है उसमें. Now you write medieval. So medieval architecture is also called as Indo-Islamic architecture. Indo-Islamic architecture. So in Indo-Islamic architecture, there are 2 periods that we are going to see, okay? And these periods are, so Delhi Sultanate and Mughal I'll be writing later on. But even in Delhi Sultanate also, I'll be creating 2 divisions, okay? So the very first division is, I'll explain to you later on, but let me write first imperial art. And the second part we call as provincial art. Imperial art and provincial art. So now, what is imperial art? Please understand. Those architectural initiatives which were taken by the sultans of Delhi. Then, so sultans of Delhi or Delhi Sultanate, that comes under the imperial art. But provincial art by the provincial people. Okay? Meaning that these initiatives are not taken by the Delhi sultans, but the local rulers or regional powers of India. Okay? So, but the timeline is Delhi Sultanate only. And what is timeline of Delhi Sultanate? So, 1206 to 1526. 1526 AD or CE. Then imperial art में let's write about all the dynasty. So very first one, slave period. Okay, so slave dynasty period. So this one is from 1206 to 1290. Then comes your after slave is Khilji. Khilji 1290 to 1320. Then after Khilji is the Tughlaq, 1320 to 1414. And then comes Sayyid. So Sayyid 1414 to 1451. And the last ruling dynasty of Delhi Sultanate was Lodhi. So Lodhi period 1451 to 1526. That's the year in which Babur was the one who defeated Ibrahim Lodhi. Then come to the provincial art. So provincial art, there is no specific time bracket, but then it all happened between 1200 to 1600 actually. So 1200 to 1600 in between, and what all provincial areas are there. So we'll start with Bengal art, then Jaunpur art, Malwa art, and Bijapur. So these are the 4 provinces that we see in this particular part. So this is all in the Delhi Sultanate period. Okay? ठीक है, that whatever that you have written, it is not history, it is architecture. ठीक है, तो roughly that is included in the Delhi Sultanate time only. Then now understand. So after this, I hope you have written. अब let's come to the Mughal part. Have I written Mughal? नहीं. So अब इस chart को extend करो and let's go into the Mughals. So Mughal architecture. So Mughal period पहले लिखो. Very first thing. And Mughal period is 1526 to 1707, and you must have started your modern syllabus from the 1707. So death of the Aurangzeb is considered as the end of the Mughals, and then starts the age of the later Mughals. Okay. So now in this period, as you know that Mughal is a one dynasty only. It's not like Delhi Sultanate जिसमें 5 dynasty थे. It is one dynasty. So here we look at the architecture with the perspective of the rulers. So first we will see the Akbar's reign, and Akbar's reign 1556 to 1605. Then comes after Akbar, Jahangir. Jahangir from 1605 to 1627. 27, ठीक है? Then, oh sorry. Then comes Shah Jahan. So golden age of the Mughal architecture is Shah Jahan's period, 1627 to 1658. And the last one is Aurangzeb, when the decline is going to happen. So 1658 to 1707. Done? So now, these are the Mughal rulers, but then here also that at this time also we need to see the contemporary of the Mughal, or basically those kingdoms where, or those areas where some provincial architecture was developing. Okay? So provincial art. So this is Mughal art, Then and here provincial art. So provincial art में those who were contemporary, Rajput architecture and Sikh architecture. Rajput architecture and Sikh architecture that will be covering at the time of the Mughals. मैं कर तो दूं, लेकिन तुम लोगों ने फिर वहाँ पढ़ा क्या इन एंशिएंट मिडिवल में? हिमांशु हैज आस्क्ड दैट elaborate BC and CE. ठीक है? There are different types of the BCs, but then here I am serious about it. So it is the before common era and the normal term. चलो, he has asked, but ancient में पूछना था ना? अब मेरा टाइम मत, चलो I'll tell you before going into it. So see that BC and BCE both are similar, ठीक है? Because when we come to this this denomination, BC, so before Christ, so it is a Christian word. It's a Christian denomination, meaning that used by the Christian, initiated by the Christians. But then you see the world, and near about 40 to 35% people, 35 to 40% people don't practice any religion. So they will not be, basically it is not right to use a Christian term. So the new era term which was used for the BC was the BCE, before common era. Now, another thing is AD. So AD meaning Anno Domini. And the meaning of the word Anno Domini, कुछ लोग बोलते हैं after death. किसकी? So that's not the right word. Anno Domini, the meaning of this word is in the year of the Lord. And which Lord? Jesus Christ. So this is what they say, that in the year of the Lord. When the birth of the Jesus has happened, so the years which followed after his birth is the Anno Domini, or in the year of the Lord. But this is also a Christian denomination. So then in the modern times, we use it for C, common era. And this is before common era. That's the difference. Now let's come to the modern architecture. Okay? So ancient ho gaya, medieval ho gaya. And now you write modern British period. Modern British period. So modern British period, generally, we say that from the consolidation of the British in India, and when their consolidation started to happen. So we'll say that after 1765, Battle of Buxar के बाद जब Treaty of Allahabad हुआ, तो उसके बाद then they further started to consolidate until the India's independence. So we will say that roughly from 1765 to 1947 is the British period. And so two type of architectures or styles were introduced at this point of time. In the beginning, Indo-Gothic style of architecture was introduced by the British, okay? And then later on from 1911, so ये 1911 तक continue रहा. Why 1911? That is the year in which the capital of India was transferred from Calcutta to New Delhi. Okay? So for the purpose of creating the new capital in Delhi, so not only two new British architects were commissioned, Herbert Baker and Edwin Lutyens, but then they also were interested with creating altogether new architecture of India. So their style is popularly known as Neo-Roman style of architecture. Neo-Roman style of architecture. Then, so these two styles will be seen. But then another thing, that when the British period is there, so at this point of time, there was one remarkable architecture, or basically contemporary to the British, there is only one architecture which is notable. So contemporary to British, and that architecture would be the last of our topic. So that is Awadh architecture. So this is what we are going to see in architecture section. Okay? Sources I'll tell you in the last of the today's class. Okay? तो wait कर लो, पहले कुछ पढ़ना start करते हैं, फिर then So I would say just one thing to you, not saying this word with the ego, but with the pride. There is a difference between the two. Okay? So what is this? That every Tom, Dick, Harry who teaches in this market, this subject, they all copy my content. And it was me who created this entire new content for the UPSC in 2013. So now any I can say it with very conviction that anywhere you see that they all just copy and they just do the same stuff. Then so, and in fact some of them were my students in 2014-15. ठीक है, फिर यहाँ से उठ के कुछ नहीं हुआ तो चलो ये कर लेते हैं. तो COVID provided a very good platform to the people to become a teacher without the students then. So anyways, that whatever be the case, I just want to tell you one thing, that whatever you are going to do in these classes, then if you are, see that you will never be able to solve all the 100% questions. That's not a reality. Then, and you don't need to solve all the 100% of the questions. In fact, if you look at the cutoff, so cutoff just goes, it is around 46 to 48%. So don't run after it. And if anybody says that all the questions will be solved, so don't run after it. The next thing is that from the class notes, the record has been there that from last 5-6 years that 85% of the questions are completely solved. So you can have a little bit of conviction on it. Then apart from it, if you are not able to do the culture questions, okay, after doing whatever you are going to do in these classes, so mark my words that nobody from anybody's classes will be able to do it. So itna bol sakta hu. Ye nahi bolunga ki 100% aayega, but then yes, almost 80% questions, 80 to 85% questions you can solve from the classes itself. And some years luck was better, but then why to be bumptious about it? So luck was better, so then 95% questions are also solved. But this is a difficult section, as you must be having this impression also. But let's hope that these 13-14 classes must not become difficult for you. In fact, it will be a fun learning also. So let's see that how we are going to proceed in this section. So be attentive, classes यहाँ पे आके करो, that would be better. क्योंकि I know that online has many problems and there is an attention deficit issue online. That what you can do here in 3 hours, I know this will take 4.5 hours when you are doing online. Because sometimes you are not able to keep pace with the dictation also. And my way of teaching is very normal, very traditional. I will be explaining the things to you. I'll be giving you dictated notes. And then particularly in architecture chapter, we need to see the images also. So what I'll do that एक दिन पहले देख लेते हैं पढ़ने वाला काम. 2 से 3 दिन के बाद I'll be bringing the images. I'll show you all the images in one go. ठीक है? फिर दिन 2 से 3 दिन के बाद I'll show you the images. So there are infographics also, some videos also. So we'll see everything. But yes, at that particular time. ठीक है? Chalo, so let's start with the architecture and sculpture. So very first topic, architecture and sculpture, you have already noted down, and isme the first topic is Indus Valley civilization. So basically we are going to read Indus Valley civilization from the perspective of the architecture, not their history. History already you have studied. तो उससे थोड़ी मदद होगी, थोड़ी हेल्प होगी, but then this is mainly for the purpose of the architecture. So I'll tell you that what all architectural things we are going to see in this particular part. So just give me 1 minute. We'll start our discussion with seals. Then after the seals, we'll go into the pottery of the Indus Valley civilization. Pottery के बाद we'll talk about the sculptures and figurines. So sculptures, and after the sculptures, seals, pottery, sculpture, and then we go to the town planning or urban planning of the Indus Valley civilization. Okay? So let's start with the very first one. So these are the 4 things that we are going to see in the Indus Valley civilization. So in ancient, you must have studied that who were the people responsible for the excavation of the Indus Valley, or when we first time got to know about that there is an underlying civilization in Punjab area of Pakistan. उसके पहले से इंफॉर्मेशन था, ठीक है. सो जस्ट लिसन दैट देयर वाज अ सर्वे ऑफ द मॉर्टिमर व्हीलर around 1838 and 36, when Mortimer Wheeler himself, he said that there is some remnant of the civilization over here. But then, and the reason was that the area surrounding the river Ravi in Punjab of the Pakistan, so it was always flooding, and whenever it was flooding, so some unusual stuff was coming from the downside then, and then like seals and the different kind of stuff. So people were already reporting to the British authority that ऐसा हम use नहीं करते हैं, we don't use in the normal that in these days, but these must be from the ancient ages. So that is the time 1838 itself some sort of information was available. And then this report was submitted to the Alexander Cunningham 1861 when he became the chairman of the Archaeological Survey of India. Alexander Cunningham also conducted a survey of this area, but then he was also not very much convinced, and then he neglected it. Then finally what happened? You must have studied in modern that 1853 the first railway line was laid down in India, Bombay to Thane, 32 kilometers. And then after British were connecting all the raw material supply areas to the port areas. So now in 1870s, the construction of the Karachi to Lahore railway station started. Okay? And when the excavation started from the Lahore, that is the time when perfectly it was reported that there is a civilization. There is no doubt about it. Then, so the information was already there from the 1870s, but British government was not going ahead with the excavation task. Then in 1920, it was the new Archaeological Survey of India head, John Marshall, who thought that if he finds a civilization in India, so his name would be remembered in the history with the golden words. And he is the one who gave the task of the excavation to the two Indian archaeologists, Dayaram Sahni and Rakhaldas Banerjee. So R.D. Banerjee. In 1921, Dayaram Sahni excavated Harappa, and R.D. Banerjee excavated Mohenjo-daro in 1922. With the knowledge of these two sides and this new civilization, it was proven beyond doubt that it was the most advanced civilization of the world. Then, so the same British who earlier, in the early establishment of the East India Company's rule in India, they have went on to say that every native of Hindustan is corrupt. This is the words of the Cornwallis, that what he said, that every native of the Hindustan is corrupt and India is a white man's burden. We are on a civilizing mission. So these all words were now proven to be untrue, false. And the same British, they realized that most advanced civilization of the world existed in India. So now, my question to you, that what is that one thing which makes the Indus Valley civilization most advanced civilization in the world? Yes. So, what else? So, not only that urban planning, okay? Urban planning, there was an immaculate urban planning then, but so as there was urban planning in the Mesopotamia. So, the urban planning can be compared, Mesopotamia, Egyptian civilization, and so as the Indus Valley. But the unique invention of the Indus Valley civilization was the creation of the burnt brick. So for the first time in the world, there was a civilization where burnt brick of same shape and size was used. And so this is for the first time in the world. Moreover, one question can be asked. So if the burnt bricks were used in India, so how the Egyptian pyramids are made? Sun-dried brick. Okay? It is a sun-dried brick. Though Egyptian pyramids are one of the biggest symbol of the mathematical symmetry, but still they were not made with the burnt brick. Then, so they were made with the sun-dried brick, and Indus Valley was advanced in this regard. And the second advancement was the size of the brick. Then, so everywhere the same shape and size was maintained in the brick. So that's why, so whenever this question is asked to you, please don't write urban planning as the most advanced feature, which was there in the Mesopotamia also and Egyptian civilization also. But then burnt brick was not there at any of the places. Then, so that's what makes Indus Valley the most advanced part. So this part I'm not dictating. I hope you know Dayaram Sahni and R.D. Banerjee's part. Likha hai na? See, this is what dissonance happens when most of the time that somebody else has taken some other part. So I don't know that what sir has taught you then. So I hope this much you have written. So we'll directly start with the seals. Okay? Ab ek kaam karo, suno. So why? So seals, first of all, so architectural pieces or the artifacts then. So seal is an artifact then, meaning that art piece of the Indus Valley civilization. So what is seal? When the excavation of the Indus Valley civilization happened, then we started to get the seals, and seals are one of the most important source of one of the most important. Okay, so one of the most important source of information about the practices and the things which existed in the Indus Valley society. So one by one we will know that how come, okay, they are providing the information. So we'll see those informations. Moreover, that these seals, their numbers by 1980s, near about 4,000 seals were found. But now by this point of time, we have more than 6,500 examples of the seals. Then, so they are the most important one of the most important source of information. Second thing, when it comes to seal, so what exactly it look like? Actually, seal is an artifact which was made in many geometrical designs, then many geometrical shapes. And what are these geometrical shapes? कुछ बताओ? Triangle, हाँ, triangular, rectangular, square, and then yes, circular. Then so these all shapes were used to create a seal. Then now, moreover, the second question, this is how you can define the seal, that what was the material which was used in the construction or creation of the seal, not construction, creation of the seal. So what was the material? Originally, majority of them were made from the soft river stone statite. Okay? So soft river stone statite, and if you really want to know the chemical composition of it, so soft river stone is magnesium sulfide. Then, so this stone was used for creation of the seals. But then there were some examples of the seal made from copper, then made from bronze, then terracotta also. I'll tell you what is terracotta. Then oprum and silver. What is oprum? Gold. Okay, so some examples were there from the gold also and some from the silver also. So these were the materials which were, so majority, meaning that near about 90% from the statite and rest of the 10% from this particular material. Then what was created on the seals, how it looks like. So it is said that seals are pictographic in nature. And so seals are pictographic in nature, meaning that there are pictures and symbols on the seals, and with these pictures and symbols only we infer the information. So we will write the examples, we will look at the pictures of those seals, and then after we will draw the inferences from those pictures. Okay, so कहाँ से start करूँ? You write just one paragraph. ठीक है, introduction पहले लिखो. That in 1921, Dayaram Sahani, excavated the site of Hadappa in Montgomery district of Pakistan. In Montgomery district of Pakistan. Then mention later in 1922, Rakhal Das Banerjee excavated town of Mohenjo-daro in Sindh province of Pakistan. Then mention in Sindh province of Pakistan. With the excavation of the two sides, it was proven beyond doubt that Indus Valley, I'm repeating it actually. So after the excavation of these two sites, it was proven beyond doubt doubt that Indus Valley was one of the most advanced civilization in the world. Indus Valley was one of the most advanced civilization in the world. All of you have written, so you missed it. Okay, so you can see from the copy. So most advanced civilization of the world. Then you write the most advanced feature of this civilization. The most advanced feature of this civilization was use of burnt brick. Use of burnt brick of same shape and size. Burnt brick of same shape and size. Do you have any idea that where I have kept the pen? I'm searching for it. Where? Okay, thank you. Acha, it has fallen. Chalo, good, thank you. Then mention same shape and size. Another advanced feature was immaculate. You can see the spelling. Immaculate urban planning. Urban planning of Indus Valley towns. Immaculate urban planning of Indus Valley towns. Then mention following are the important artifacts and architectural details of Indus Valley. Architectural details of Indus Valley. So in this regard, very first one, you write seals. Seals. So number one, seals. Mention. Dictation थोड़ी slow करनी है. No, you tell me. I will go according to your speed. I don't have any problem. देखो, पहली class में I need to see that with what speed you are writing. ठीक है? But generally, I would request to you that by this point of time you have already completed 1 year. So थोड़ी speed बढ़ाओ, क्योंकि exam में फिर then when your speed is better, so then you will be able to complete the paper. So चलो लिखो. So you write seals are one of the most important source of information. Seals are one of the most important source of information about Indus Valley civilization. About Indus Valley civilization. Till this date, more than 6,000 seals have been found. More than 6,000 seals have been found. Then you change paragraph and then you write seals are geometrical shaped object. Seals are geometrical shaped objects. Mainly made up from soft river stone. Mainly made up from soft river stone, statite. You can see the spelling. Soft river stone, statite. then further you write, but there are instances of seals, there are instances of seals made from copper, bronze, terracotta, copper, bronze, terracotta, gold and silver also. Gold and silver also. Why not iron? Iron was not discovered. ठीक है. So iron, when it was discovered? Maurya period. It's on the conjunction of the early and later Vedic. 1000 BC, ठीक है? From where it was found? कहाँ से? South India. So where we found iron for the very first time in India or in any civilization of the world? There were Chota Nagpur Plateau. I was hoping this thing. Okay? So let me stump you. So for the very first time, the iron was excavated or iron was discovered from the two places in western UP, and that is Atranjikhera and Jakhira, very closer to Muradabad and Bareilly. So these were the two places in the Vedic times from where the iron was discovered. And then after, they have slowly penetrated to, you must have studied then, it is in the later Vedic period when they have got the iron tools done. So with this iron tool, because with the iron you can create a weapon which can be sharpened beyond a certain limit. Then so sharpest tools can be created with the iron. With that, they have cleared the Gangetic forest. Entry into Chota Nagpur Plateau has been very late. So iron was not discovered from Chota Nagpur Plateau. It was not discovered from southern India. It was from western UP, where no iron is there right now. Okay? So the two places were Atranjikhera and Jakhira. Now let's get back to this part. So these were the metals which were used for the making. Okay? Then mention seals were pictographic in nature. I'm writing, you can see the spelling. Seals were pictographic in nature. Done? Then mention, which means it had good number of pictures and symbols, which means it had good number of pictures and symbols. Pictures and symbols. Done? These symbols were created from right to left direction. Created from right to left direction. What is right to left? How you will write right to left? उल्टा. ठीक है, जैसे उर्दू लिखते हैं. ठीक है, तो उर्दू, so now you are writing left to right. ठीक है, but when you write Urdu, so you write right to left. Okay? So that's how the pictographic script was also created in the Indus Valley, or basically these seals were, the symbols were created in this manner. So now with the examples, we are going to explore the information related to the seals and Indus Valley civilization. So the very first example, लिखो. So example पे आते हैं, बाद में purpose भी लिखेंगे, ठीक है. So example, so very first example and the famous example is Pasupati seal. So I'll bring the images, उसमें issue नहीं है, but then today I haven't brought, and then moreover थोड़ा एक बार में ज़्यादा हो जाए, so then we'll go with the image. So in the image there is a depiction of a person with a three-horned seal. ठीक है? So three-horned, that throne is there. Then apart from it, he is on a particular seat. Then on the downside, there are antelopes, deer are there. Then what all animals are depicted in it? Elephant, rhino, ठीक है? Tiger and bull. So sequence will change, but just for depiction. So elephant, rhino, then bull and tiger and the deer. So these many animals are there. Now so this person is depicted sitting in a yogic posture. Okay? So a kind of yogic posture. So now what all inferences we can draw? Historians say that this is the image of the proto-Shiva. Okay? What is proto-Shiva? Adi Shiva. So the historians say that this is the image of proto-Shiva or Adi Shiva. So they are just referring to some examples that surrounded by the bull. Okay? Then apart from it, that when we look at this entire image, so there are two inferences that we can draw without being a historian. Historians have some basis to draw the inferences, but hum kya draw kar sakte hain? The number one is that it depicts one of the practice of the Indian society, and that practice we call as the practice of cohabitation. Okay? So what is practice of cohabitation? The planet Earth is a shared planet. It is not the planet only meant for the human beings, but it has to be equally shared with the animals, okay? The faunas of the world. Then apart from it, some sort of nature worship can also be derived from it. But the most important to us is that yogic practices were known to the people of Indus Valley civilization. So yogic practices were known to them. This inference can be drawn from this particular example. I hope you are getting it then. So mention, you write Pasupati seal. So mention, majority of the historians refer it as the image of proto-Shiva. Refer it as the image of proto-Shiva or Adi Shiva. Proto-Shiva or Adi Shiva. Then the seal depicts the concept of cohabitation. The seal depicts the concept of cohabitation, nature worship, and it seems that yogic practices were known to Indus Valley people. And yogic practices were known to Indus Valley people. So this is what is about the Pasupati seal. But इसके अलावा बहुत सारे examples हैं. So let's go ahead with the second example which I need to quote. So the second example is basically, just let me create so some sort of animal is depicted, but it is not very clear that what is the name of the animal. But the part which is very clear is basically the plant which is created from this particular part. Then, so as we see that, so this kind of leaves were created on this, and so what it looks like, any idea? People, not pan. Pan ऐसे नहीं होता है. Pan is a creeper. I hope you know. ठीक है? So pan का इतना straight नहीं बनेगा. So pan would be like, the leaves would be similar, but pan would be like this way. ठीक है? So it's a creeper. Right? But this is people. So seal with the people leaf. So इसका example लिखो. Seal with people leaf. And people, English, ficus. Which ficus? No idea? Ficus religiosa. Okay? That's the, so generally we call people as a ficus, but even Bargad is also known as ficus. Okay? Only the way to differentiate them is to the way we worship them. Okay, so Bargad is not worshipped, people is worshipped. So Bargad is called as Ficus bengalensis and people is called as Ficus religiosa. So let's come to the people. What is the importance of the people? First of all, directly we can say that it may indicate nature worship. But then why people? Okay? Why not any other tree? Why people is to be taken for the nature worship? कुछ और भी ले सकते हैं. Oxygen, हाँ 24 hours. ठीक है. So people is the plant which is a C4 or C3 plant. It is a, अब ऑक्सीजन तो बता दिया, ठीक है, मैं तो यूपीएससी का क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा हूं तुमसे. इट इज अ C4 और C3 प्लांट. It is a C4 plant. ठीक है. So people is a C4 plant, and those plants which are C4, they produce oxygen all the 24 hours. Then and 85%. Now understand, 85% of the plants in the planet kingdom, they are, ठीक है. So not planet kingdom, planet Earth. Then they are C3 plants. 15% are C4. So C3 are the one which produces oxygen only during the presence of the sunlight, daytime, and C4 all the 24 hours. Then moreover, people is one of it, and in C4 all the grasses will be coming under the C4. Even maize, even wheat season अभी start होने वाला, that is also a C4 plant. ठीक है. अब ये पूछोगे, I hope you have studied till class 10th, what is this C4 or C3? So this is a carbon cycle, the metabolism cycle. The plants which has a 3 carbon metabolism cycle is C3, which is called as Kelvin cycle, and the 4 one is called as Hatch-and-Slack cycle, 4 carbon metabolism cycle. You'll be studying in your biology or any other subject, I don't know. But then now here my idea was, or basically the idea over here, it is a oxygen giving plant which is important for the life. Then so they might have associated this with some sort of worship. So it is indicative of the nature worship. लिखने के लिए इतना है, but explanation needed little bit extra. Now another thing, there was one more seal which was very popular, which is known as unicorn seal. So I'm not creating it on the board. Unicorn is seal. It was depicted with a one horn, then, but then the entire body was depicted with different kind of symbols. Then, so that kind of animal does not exist in the modern times, but it seems that it was a kind of a mythical animal which people respected. Then, so and highest number of the seals belong to the unicorn seal only. So it is also indicative towards the nature worship. So mention दूसरा वाला भी लिखो. Second you write. Seal with people leaf. Example में seal with people leaf, and in this you write, it indicates nature worship. It indicates nature worship. Then the last example you write, the most abundant seal found from Indus towns was unicorn seal. The most abundant seal found from Indus town was unicorn seal. Full stop. It is depiction of one-horned mythical animal. One-horned mythical animal. Right? So these are some of the examples, but then we need to understand some of the purposes of the seal also. ठीक है? तो अब separately लिखो purpose of the seal. You just write a title, purpose of the seal. Purpose of the seals. So listen, when it comes to the purpose of the seals, so first of all, very first thing, that the size was not that big. Size was, you can easily that very closer to the way we use the coins today, and or the big pendants that we hang with the those neck pieces. Then so the size was not big, and moreover the symbols which are there, so symbols sometimes they also seem to be the authoritative or basically the authority of the Indus Valley civilization. So it is believed that these seals, they were used as the coins, okay, or they were first kind of coinage thing, okay. And moreover, how the things were happening in Indus Valley civilization, you must have heard or you must have studied that export of commodities were happening, many commodities. Wheat was one of the important commodity, but then there were many, and these commodities were going to the countries like Oman, then Magan, then Dilman. Have you heard about it? So, see, Oman sabko samajh mein aata hai. What is Magan? Persian Gulf. Then Dilman is the Qatar and Bahrain. Okay? And Sumer, so it was going to Sumer. What is Sumer? Sumer is Baghdad. Then, so Mesopotamia. So these all regions, they were trading. And Jabi, whenever the trade was happening with these all areas, so suppose a consignment of the wheat is there. So that consignment was stamped with the seal. Okay? And it is going to that area. So it is a symbol of that this origin of this material is from Indus Valley. And whenever any consignment is suppose coming from the Baghdad to India or Dilman to India, so then that was also stamped with the seal. So seals were perhaps stamping authority also. Okay? So two things, either they were earliest coinage or they were also the stamping authority of the particular civilization. Then another purpose of the seal, that there are different type of the symbols. Okay? There were different type of the symbols. In fact, some of the symbols were very closer to the mathematical symbols. What is this? Pi. Then in fact, some of the symbols were like this also. Phi. Okay? So few mathematical symbols were also there. On the basis of this mathematical symbol, it is said that maybe it was also used as a educational tool. Then the last purpose of the seal that we need to see, that many as times seals were also used as amulet. Amulet, you understand? Tabiz. Okay? Tabiz to pata hai na? So seals were also used as amulet or tabiz. Then, so why people wear tabiz or amulet? Basically, people have superstitious belief that the person is afflicted with the ghosts and the demons. Okay? So to ward off the evil, the amulets are used. So this practice is called as shamanic practice. So seals were also used in the shamanic practice. What is shamanic practice? Tantric practice. Tabiz pehenna is a tantric practice. Then, so it was also used as a shamanic object amulet. So mention, you right? अब देखो एक और चीज है, one more thing, that whatever we are writing about the Indus Valley, nothing is written with 100% conformity. Why so? Because the script of the Indus Valley, what is the script? Pictographic script, hasn't been deciphered till this date. So everything is in a possibility. Okay? All the inferences are in a possibility, not in a conformity. And till the time all the symbols or pictographic script of the Indus Valley is deciphered, we will always say this is in a probability. So we'll be using, whenever you are writing answers related to Indus Valley, most of the time use the words perhaps and maybe. Okay? So conformity के साथ नहीं लिखना है. So mention number one, perhaps seals were the earliest type of coinage. Seals were the earliest type of coinage which facilitated in trade. Perhaps seals were the earliest type of coinage which facilitated in trade. Then mention number two. They are also believed to be stamps of Indus Valley civilization. They are also believed to be stamp of Indus Valley civilization. IVC, short word use karo. Then mention. Next one, after it, number 3. उसके बाद लिखो after it. In some of the seals, mathematical symbols, in some of the seals, mathematical symbols like pi and phi were also created. Like pi and phi were also created, which suggests that maybe which suggests that maybe they were also used as an educational tool, Last one you write. Seals were also used as, you can see the spelling here which I have written, semenic object emulate. Semenic object emulate to ward off evil spirit. Then, so this is what is about the seals of the Indus Valley civilization. Okay, so the varieties and then also the symbols, their meanings, and then the purposes we have seen. Okay, so now after the seals, the next is the pottery. So let's go into the second artifact of the Indus Valley civilization, that is pottery. So I know that you do get break, okay, but there is one thing which I need to maintain, that that mine classes has been maybe different from the other people, but in terms of the break, so generally I give break around when 1 hour 45-minute class is over. So then I give you a break of 10-12 minutes. But then the days when I would not be giving you break, so I'll be leaving you by 7:35 to 7:40. Okay? And I'm not somebody who goes to a great extent. Okay? So I feel that 2 hours 30 minutes is much more than enough for the things to be grasped in a day. Beyond that, मुझे खुद ही नहीं समझ में आता है कि मैं क्या पढ़ाऊँ. Then, so फिर उसके बाद मुझे 1 घंटे का गैप चाहिए होता है कि समझने के लिए, डिमेंशिया से बाहर आने के लिए. So, but then, and since there would be factual things in this one, so I would better like that use that duration to memorize the things. Then, and whichever particular part in the syllabus would require more attention, so I will tell you in the class itself कि इसको ज़्यादा revision करना है, इसको कम करना है, ठीक है? So I'll guide you in this regard. चलो, so let's move to the next one, which is pottery. So mention pottery. So I hope all of you know what is pottery. क्या है बताओ? Not matlab explanation, but basically the usage, all of you, I hope you know that mainly it is used as a utensil. बर्तन की तरह use करते थे for cooking, ठीक है, for storage and for these all things. But here we need to talk about the different type of the potteries which existed in the Indus Valley civilization. And believe me that these are the last portions which are a little boring, but otherwise the rest of the portions are a bit interesting also, and the unique facts are also there. So pottery, ठीक है? When it comes to pottery, so there are 3-4 type of the potteries which were found. The general wear pottery. General wear का मतलब general कामों के लिए, ठीक है? And what is the general work? So as you said, utensils, ठीक है? Storage. So these are the general wear pottery. We'll talk about it. But then there are miniature vessels, ठीक है? So there are miniature vessels, there are perforated vessels, and there is a one more special category of the pottery, Fanes pottery, ठीक है? So the 4 type of the potteries we are going to study. अभी पहले normal देखो. So when it comes to the general wear pottery, it was red in color. Basically हिंदी में एक word use होता है गेरुआ, ठीक है? And what is गेरुआ color? Brick का जो color होता है, ठीक है? The normal brick which has come from the brick kiln. So गेरुआ, so it was generally red in color, ठीक है? और गेरुआ in color. Then so it was red wear or red in color, and the normal shape was like this, just the way we use in many of the festivals, ठीक है? So this was used for the as a utensil and the storage. But then there are specific type of the potteries. So the second type, we call it as a miniature vessel. Then, so what is miniature vessel? As the name suggests, कि छोटा होगा, ठीक है? Small size. Then, but then they are very beautiful. So miniature vessels are small but elongated. Then, so they are small but elongated, and then on these miniature vessels, you may find some beautiful designs will be created. Then, so this was mainly meant for the decoration purpose. Then the third pottery is, एक साथ लिख लेंगे. Third pottery is perforated pottery. So when it comes to perforated pottery, so perforated potteries were smoky gray in color. Then, so they were smoky gray in color and little wider, but as the name suggests that it might be having the perforations. So the entire body of the pottery has perforations. And what is the use of this pottery? No, not smoking, okay? So it is for straining liquor. Okay? So straining liquor. कुछ ज़्यादा spelling गलत लिख दिया मैंने. So straining liquor. Then, so this is the purpose of this particular pottery. Now, I don't need to tell you that how the liquor is made then, but then the normal process is the fermentation of the some of the ingredients, and that is evaporated. So evaporated fractional distillation in the modern industry happens, but in those times, the perforations, the distillation happens through this particular vessel. So why liquor in those times? So as even in the ancient text of India, there is a mention of the intoxicating drink. Then, so Soma Ras. Then, so right from, it is said that right from the inception of the humanity, the human spirits needed the spirit to keep their spirit high. Then, so so that's how Indus Valley people were also not lesser in this spirit. Okay? So they were making alcohol. Then apart from it, the last pottery, कहने के लिए pottery बोलते हैं, but these are basically the small but beautiful utensils. Then, so it is called as Fanes pottery. Just give me 1 minute. Fanes, now spelling is right. So Fanes pottery. So these potteries were created with bony white material, or they are basically, they look like a bowl. Then, so they look like beautiful bowls, and but then beautiful designs in different colors. So the normal background is bony white, then, and then the designs are created in the different color. So these 4 are the different type of the potteries of the Indus Valley civilization. Okay? So अब एक एक करके लिखो. So number 1, mention. The general purpose pottery of Indus Valley civilization, the general purpose pottery of Indus Valley civilization was, the general purpose pottery of Indus Valley civilization was red or ochre in color. O-C-H-R-E, red or ochre in color. Then it was mainly used as utensils, storage of grains or water. Utensils, storage of grains or water. Storage of grains or water. Okay? Then number 2. So name you write miniature vessel. Number 2, miniature vessel. Yeah, you can create a rough diagram in exam. There is no harm in it. देखो अगर जो use नहीं होता तो I would not have been creating over here. Then, so you can create if this is asked. So mention miniature vessel. They were small, narrow but elongated pottery. Small, narrow but elongated pottery. Elongated pottery with beautiful, small, narrow but elongated pottery with beautiful designs on it. with beautiful designs on it. Designs on it. Full stop. Then mention. It was mainly used. It was mainly used for the purpose of. It was mainly used for the purpose of decoration. For the purpose of decoration. नहीं, मैं नहीं लिखवाऊंगा, तुम अपने end से लिख लो उसमें एडिशन. मैं भावनाओं को समझ रहा हूँ. I understand the spirits. ठीक है. So and see that whatever we are writing, that is the consensus among the historians. एक ये भी है ना कि हम अपने मन से नहीं लिख सकते बहुत सारी चीजें. So historians, archaeologists, they must have concluded something. So on the basis of it we are writing. ठीक है. So mention the next one you write. उसके बाद number 3. Number 3 you write perforated pottery. This one. So mention. These potteries had a wider mouth. These pottery had wider mouth. Had wider mouth. And the body has innumerous perforations. Innumerous perforations. Generally it was smoky gray in color. Smoky gray in color and meant for smoky gray in color and meant for straining liquor. Meant for straining liquor. Then straining liquor. And the last you write, spelling you must be very cautious about. So you mention Spain's pottery. So write in this one. Fanes was a bony white material. Fanes was a bony white, bone के color का, ठीक है? So bony white material, mainly found in the upper part of Gujarat. Mainly found in the upper part of Gujarat. Full stop. It was used for creating small utensils. It was used for creating small utensils with beautiful designs. It was used for creating small utensils with beautiful designs. Then, so this is what is about the pottery part of the Indus Valley civilization. Okay? So now after the pottery, let's go to the third part, which is sculpture. Oh, just give me 1 minute. Sculpture. So in sculpture, okay. So what is a sculpture? It is a 3D piece of art. Then just like the idol. So it is an idol. But then idol we specifically use for the gods. Okay, ki god idol. Now sculpture is a 3D piece of art which is purely based on the imagination. So now in Indus Valley civilization, we have found 3 types of the sculptures, and basically on the basis of the material. So there was a stone sculpture, there was terracotta sculpture, and there was a bronze sculpture. Okay, so one by one we will see these all sculpture. Let's start with the stone sculpture of the Indus Valley civilization. पहले एक word लिखो, ठीक है? Sculpture is a 3D piece of art. Sculpture is a 3D piece of art purely based on one's imagination. Purely based on one's imagination. Then mention further. So purely based on one's imagination, full stop. After it you write. So number one. So nahi, pehle likho. There were three types of sculpture. There were three types of sculpture found from Indus towns. Found from Indus towns. So the number one you write stone sculpture. Stone sculpture. So when it comes to stone sculpture, so what kind of stone was used in creation of it? So soft river stone, once again statite. So statite was used in the creation of the stone sculpture, and we do have very less examples of it. In fact, we do have only one good surviving example of the stone sculpture, and that is the image of the bearded priest. Okay? So image of the bearded priest. So image of the bearded priest, it is a depiction of a person, okay, in which obviously the beards are there. But then just give me 1 minute. I will try with so not, just give me 1 minute. And is there any search with Google? ठीक है. इमेज देख लो तो इजी होगा, मुझे बनाने की ज़रूरत नहीं होगी, अदरवाइज माई गुड आर्ट वुड बी एक्सपोज टू यू. सो so this is the bearded priest image. ठीक है, as you can see. So in the image you can see that seems like a Kohli style beard done. Then Narendra Modi style, our Prime Minister style face. So and then trefoil pattern shawl he is wearing. ठीक है. So this pattern is called as trefoil. ठीक है. And moreover, in fact, this pattern goes very well with the cotton. So it itself is indicative that cotton textile industry was very robust in this area. And he is having an headband. ये ऊपर की तरफ देखो. So this headband and this is the armband. So headband and armband is suggestive of his religious importance. ठीक है. So that's why he is called as the bearded priest. ठीक है. So this is the image. बाकी भी image देख लो, because फिर then Indus Valley का image then I will not bring ना. So let me go to, so what all things we have seen. Seals में first I'll show you seal with the people leaf. ठीक है. अरे so this is the one, as you can see. ठीक है. So this is unicorn seal, this one, and this one is the seal with the people leaf. So you see that these people leaves are there, and this animal is not identifiable कि कौन सा animal है. ठीक है, but they created it. And Pasupati seal must also be there. Yes, this is the Pasupati seal. So ऐसे ही मिला था. This is the original one. Only one seal was found, but then it is broken one. So animals are very much identifiable. This is deer, ठीक है. Then this seems to be bull. Then rhino, ठीक है, tiger and elephant. So these are the symbols which are depicted in it. Got it? Pottery. So as far as pottery is concerned, let me write pottery. So famous pottery. It's a modern one. IVC we'll have to write. So these are the Fane's pottery, ठीक है? This is the original one. Bony white color, this is also bony white color. So these two, these are in NCERT. So ये NCERT पे लिखा हुआ है. These are not Fane's pottery, only these and these. ठीक है? They are Fane's pottery. And then perforated भी देख लो. So ये रहा, हाँ, left side. As you can see, perforated pottery. ठीक है? That's it. Chalo. So now your spirits must be high. So chalo, let's get back to the part we were writing. Stone sculpture लिख लो, then I'll give you a break. ठीक है? कल class है? No, मतलब any class I'm asking. You have, ठीक है? Very bad luck of yours. मैच है ना कल तो? हाँ, तो मैं तो नहीं आता हूँ, मैं तो बोल देता हूँ मेरी तबीयत खराब है. नहीं, you guys have option ना, you can see it later. हाँ, बाद में देख सकते हो. So you write stone sculpture. There were very few examples. There were very few examples of stone sculpture. Of stone sculpture. Then mention. They were made from soft river stone statite. Soft river stone statite. Then mention the best surviving example. The best surviving example is the image of bearded priest. Is the image of bearded priest. Bearded priest draped with DRAPED, draped with a trefoil pattern shawl, and wearing a headband and an armband. Wearing a headband and an armband. An armband. ठीक है? So this is what is about the stone sculpture of Indus Valley. उसमें और कुछ भी नहीं है, ठीक है? Then terracotta is a much important portion from which more questions have come. So just write a title and you can go on break. So terracotta sculpture number 2. Terracotta figurines or sculptures. Done? ठीक है. So now you can take break and then after 12-13 minutes we'll continue with rest of the portion. ठीक है? So now listen. So terracotta figurines or sculptures. So basically this word terracotta, it signifies, the meaning of this word is basically the one which is made from the clay. So these are basically clay made figures. Then so clay made figures which are baked on fire. So that is what is the meaning of the terracotta figurine. Many of you must be knowing also, ठीक है? And there are some belts or some areas in the eastern UP and Bihar also where the terracotta things are created, ठीक है? So for example, दिवाली में दिया यूज करते हो. What is this? This is terracotta, ठीक है? A clay made shape which is baked on fire. Then so basically here we are talking about the terracotta figurine means that diya is a figurine. It is not a sculpture. Sculpture is basically a particular human being, clay, a human being, birds, elephants. So there could be many figures which are created from this, and so is the sculpture. So large number of the small toys were created with it, and these toys are small birds, then small animals, ठीक है, even the carts were also created, बैलगाड़ी, ठीक है, so they were also created. But the most important in the terracotta sculpture is the image of the mother goddess. It is the most abundant image found from majority of the Indus towns. Almost it is said that all the Indus towns, ठीक है, they had an image of the mother goddess. So what is this mother goddess? Why she is called as mother goddess? Because there are many depictions of the mother goddess. Some places she is depicted as a pregnant lady. Then, so pregnant lady. Some places or very few places, there has been cases of the figures where from the navel point of the lady, navel point, to understand Nabhi. So from the navel point of the lady, a plant is sown emerging. Plant is sown emerging. That's why mother goddess is also referred as the goddess of fertility. Okay, so it is the most abundant image, and in fact in your history part, basically ancient history, जब discussions होते हैं, ठीक है, the nature of the society of the Indus Valley civilization. So on the basis of the image of the mother goddess, since it is the most abundant image found from all the Indus towns, historians say, majority of them say, that perhaps the Indus Valley society was matriarchal in nature. Okay, I hope you must have written it then. So it is matriarchal in nature. The basis of is this particular figurine itself. So mention, you write that terracotta means clay shape which is baked on fire. Clay shape which is baked on fire. Clay shape which is baked on fire, full stop. Then mention large number of terracotta figures. Large number of terracotta figures were created. Terracotta figures were created in Indus towns. Large number of figures were created in Indus towns. Then mention the most abundant terracotta figure. The most abundant terracotta figure found from almost all the Indus towns. Found from almost all the Indus towns is the image of mother goddess. Is the image of mother goddess. And image of mother goddess. She is also regarded as goddess of fertility. She is also regarded as goddess of fertility. Goddess of fertility. Full stop. On the basis of abundance of this image, majority of the historians, comma के बाद लिखना, majority of the historians believe that Indus society was matriarchal in nature. Indus society was matriarchal in nature. Matriarchal in nature. Then, so this is what is about the Indus Valley terracotta sculpture. Okay. Now let's come to the last one, which is more important. That is the bronze sculpture. Okay. So the third one is the bronze sculpture. Third is bronze sculpture, and I hope you know that bronze is an alloy, not alloy, but it is made from mixing two metals, and these two metals are copper and tin. So copper and tin is mixed to create the bronze. Why so? So when copper was known to the Indus Valley people, but copper, as you know, this metal is very malleable, very flexible, so good weapons cannot be created with the copper. Okay? If it is mixed with the tin, so it becomes a hard material. So for that purpose only tin was added. One more purpose is that corrosion of the copper. You all must have noticed कि एक copper का utensil if you keep overnight, सुबह तक वो काला हो जाता है because it takes the sulfur from the environment and it creates the H2, that cupric sulfide. Then so that's how it becomes black. So when you mix tin in it, then that particular process does not happens. So now when it comes to this bronze sculpture, the most important thing is the method through which it was created. And the method of this sculpture is called as lost wax technique. So lost wax technique. So what is this lost wax technique? How the sculpture is created in this one. So understand the process, that how they create the sculpture. So the very first phase, very first place, what they will do, that suppose that they are creating a sculpture, ठीक है? So suppose that World Cup ही create कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? So so now a sculpture is created, and this sculpture is created from the wax. Okay? So it is created from the wax. Now in the next step, what they will be doing, that they will be covering this particular sculpture with the, or wax sculpture with the clay. So now it is covered with clay, entirely with clay. Then so the second part is clay. And then finally this sculpture is that this is baked on fire. Then so after, as you know, fire में जब डालोगे, so what will happen? This wax will melt. Then this will melt, and this clay which is there, it will become hard. After that, what they will do? This molten wax, a hole would be created, and this would be drained. In a separate pot, they are melting copper and tin. So they are melting copper and tin, and moreover, when it is melt, so the molten copper and tin is that is fused, so it will replace the wax. For some days they will leave it for the cooling, and when it has cooled enough, so then the outer portion, the clay, hardened clay, would be removed, and then you have a bronze sculpture which can be polished and refined from the outside. So this is a very important technique, and it tells about the know-how, meaning intelligence of the Indus Valley civilization people even till this date. In many pockets of India, with the same method, the sculptures are created. Though we live in a mechanized age in which that machine production of the sculptures are very easy, but even in this scenario, there are some sculptures. So I'll tell you one example. Have you heard about GI tag? Geographical indication. So there is a geographical indication or GI tag material sculpture which is called as Dhokra sculpture. So Dhokra art, those who are from Chhattisgarh, Bastar, okay, these all areas, so they know Dhokra. Okay? They must have heard. It's a very beautiful art, and Dhokra is still created with this technique only. Okay? So mention, you're right. So bronze sculpture was created through lost wax technique. Lost wax technique. Then in this you mentioned, in the very first step, a wax sculpture was created to be covered with clay. Then covered with clay. Now, full stop के बाद देखो. Now, the figure was baked in fire. And molten wax was replaced with molten bronze. Was replaced with molten bronze. Then after enough cooling, hardened clay, hard लिखो ENED, ठीक है, hardened clay was removed and the sculpture was polished and refined. So this is what is about the technique of the bronze sculpture, and we do have a very good example of it. So all of you, I hope you know, some of you have written also. So what is that? Dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro. Okay. So example, you write example, dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro. Dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro. So this is the best example of the bronze sculpture. Even in bronze also, not so many examples were there, but only few surviving, and this is the best example. So if you ever want to see, so you can, kabhi time mile, so you can visit National Museum, and there you can find this particular sculpture. But then the general estimation of ours that it must be very big size. No, it is just this much size. Okay, it fits in your palm only. So even I had, when I studied about it, so I had an imagination that it must be larger than the life figure. But then when I went to museum, so I found, मैंने 4 बार पूछा यही है बस. So he said हाँ भैया यही है. So anyways, so but the importance is that the technique that they have used, not the beauty of the sculpture, but the technique that they have used, which is still very much prevalent in the society. Okay. So you want to write that dhokra wala? I hope you understood. ठीक है, पूछो. हाँ, ज्वेलरी मेकिंग में भी होता है बहुत सारी जगह स्टिल. हाँ, इन ज्वेलरी मेकिंग ऑल्सो दे डू दिस थिंग. ठीक है. एंड इनफैक्ट इवन फॉर एग्जाम्पल दैट अभी भी अगर जो ये कोशिश करोगे तो जो बता रहा हूँ लाह की जो चीज़ें बनती हैं, ठीक है, they are used from they are made from this process only. Many of you must not be knowing the lah, ठीक है, but then some of you must be knowing the filling happens in this way only. ठीक है. So have you heard about it? So now let's come to the next part. So the last part of the Indus Valley civilization, and then after we'll have a little bit of discussion on the reference material. Okay. So acha, before going into it, I just wanted to know that have you purchased any reference material? नहीं खरीदा है? All of you. It's very good thing. मतलब I'm impressed with your batch that you have not purchased anything. खरीदना भी नहीं है actually. ठीक है. So इस सब्जेक्ट में खरीदने का कोई फायदा नहीं है. Particularly you can go with the 2 NCRTs. चलो we'll discuss the reference material first. So I would rather suggest that you go with the 2 NCRTs and nothing else. Then so these 2 NCRT, introduction to the fine art part 1 and fine art part 2. ठीक है, एक class 11th की है और एक class 12th की है. That's it. Moreover, how you will be using this NCRT, let me write first. So only 2 NCRTs I'm suggesting. Introduction to fine art part 1 and part 2 also. Okay. So these are the new NCRTs, and moreover this is the class 11th NCRT. This is class 11th NCRT and this is class 12th NCRT. ठीक है. So new NCRT, this you can download also, खरीदने की भी ज़रूरत नहीं है. So basically introduction to fine art part 1, it has mainly the chapter related to architecture and sculpture. उसके अलावा कुछ भी नहीं है. So it has only architecture and sculpture. Moreover, the language is little complicated as per the standards of the students then. So it is little complicated. So what you need to do, I'll suggest you that once the architecture chapter is over, you read this entire NCRT and what you do, the outer space which is given, thoda sa space bacha hota hai on each page, there is a little bit of space. So whatever you find extra apart from the class, you write in that space. Second time you don't need to read that book. Moreover, the important in the first book is images, ठीक है, and the description of image. So अगर पूरी किताब भी नहीं पढ़ पा रहे हो, so what you do, that if you're not able to read the entire book, so just look at the images and read the description of the images. And this second NCERT is only about the images, ठीक है. Reading, I would suggest you must prescribe reading. Prescribe, you understand? You must not go into the reading a lot, because it is more written from the perspective of a culture student. Then those who are pursuing the career or going to pursue the career in the fine arts, okay? So for them only, there are some few words which are written in such a way that it will not give you any simplistic explanation. Then, so for that you will have to come back time and again, ask the people that what is the meaning. So for example, what simple example there are. What is the meaning of this word relief? I hope it is a very simple word. You all know what is relief then. But what is relief in a domain of the architecture? It's completely different. Then, so it is completely different. Relief meaning that the, so for example, let me, kuch dikh nahi raha hai mere ko. So I'll take this globe itself. Suppose that this globe is created. Okay? So map of India is created. Where is map of India? So map of India is created. ठीक है? Sculpture. पीछे से पूरा plain और आगे से features थोड़े से raised. So that type of the sculpture is called as a relief sculpture. So for example, best example, a Durga Puja. ठीक है? In Durga Puja, you see the images of the goddess Durga. What is there from the back side? Is it complete 3D? No. So it is complete flat from the back side and there are images from the front side. So this is called as relief sculpture. So these words which are given in the NCERT, you may not understand. So I would better suggest that what you do, see the images, see the description, and rest of the portions already I would be incorporating in the classes. Then, so you don't need to be very much worried about it. Apart from it, I don't have any other suggestion. ठीक है? But if you want, you can go ahead. It is up to you. Because obviously, बहुत बार क्या होता है कि हमें सजेशंस के अलावा साइकोलॉजिकल सेटिस्फैक्शन भी चाहिए होता है. तो फॉर साइकोलॉजिकल सेटिस्फैक्शन यू कैन बाय सम बुक्स, बट रीडिंग पर्पस क्लास तक रखो तो बेटर होगा. सो दीज टू एनसीईआरटीज यू कैन परचेज, गो अहेड विद इट. ठीक है? सो लेट्स कम टू द लास्ट डिस्कशन. And what about the vision material? Okay? So vision material, see that particular material I created in 2013. Then so almost 10 साल हो गए उस particular material को. उसमें मैंने कोई update नहीं किया आज तक. So now the classes are much more value added than the vision material. So उसमें कुछ portions देख सकते हो. I will guide you after 6 or 7 classes. ठीक है? That some portions which are not dealt in the classes that you can see. But then let me that 6-7 क्लास खत्म करने दो फिर उसके बाद. ठीक है? So let's come to the last part, urban planning or town planning of IVC. Urban planning or town planning. So now when it comes to urban planning or town planning of the Indus Valley civilization, have you done the sites of the Indus Valley? Sites कर लिया ना सारे. Sites से हर 3 साल पे एक क्वेश्चन होता है in prelims examination. ठीक है? So the important sites of the Indus Valley, I would better suggest that whatever you have done in the classes, उसके अलावा भी अपने end से थोड़ा सा value addition कर लेना NCERT से. ठीक है? I don't know how much you have done, but then I do feel that you need to do value addition in the sites of the Indus Valley civilization little bit extra. ठीक है? So NCERT से कर लेना. Now let's come to the urban planning or town planning. So generally the Indus towns, generally, ठीक है? Exceptionals are also there. Generally Indus towns were divided into 2 parts. Then, and one part of the town is called as the upper town and one part is the lower town. Upper town was created on an upraised platform and lower town on the grounded platform. So with the image itself we'll be understanding. Give me a little bit of time. So these figures, just give me, इसमें तो square So there is a square. So there is one part of the town which we'll be calling as the upper part of the town, and then lower town will be bigger than this. So once again, I'll have to choose. Just so now understand. So this upper part of the town, I would better create with the hand. इससे अच्छा नहीं बनेगा. So this is created on a appraised platform. So this we are marking as a appraised platform, and this area is known as citadel. Then some places in some of the books they also mention it as a acropolis. Then so now what all things were created? This area was generally fortified. Generally fortified. कुछ कुछ जगह पे नहीं भी हो सकता है, but majority of them are fortified. What is fortified? हाँ, घेराबंदी. ठीक है. So there is a that appraised walls are there or enclosures are there. Now this part of the town, it had administrative buildings. So when we look at the buildings which were created, it does not seems to be habitation for the normal people, but it seemed to be the administrative buildings. Then so this was the part of the town from where the administration of the Indus Valley was handled. Then the second thing, that in this town there were some specific features. Okay, so just wait 1 minute. What about Nitin Singhania? Please highlight some. Why should I highlight any chapter from the any guidebook? I already mentioned to you now that this is my suggestion in NCERT. So I would not be. I'm not emphasizing on any such guidebook from the market. So I would not be highlighting anything related to that. If you have any additional thing कि कुछ ये करवा दो, कुछ additional करवा दो, that I'll do in the classes. You can request to me. I will try to incorporate in the classes. Then, so now, so what we were talking about, that in this area there were two special things. One is the granaries. You understand what is granaries? Granaries were the storage. ठीक है? आज के टाइम पे हम क्या बोलते हैं? Silos. Silos और basically the अपने यहाँ क्या होता है? FCI godowns. ठीक है? So godowns. So basically granaries were the godowns or granaries were the storage for the grains. They were made in a scientific manner. Then so they were made in a scientific manner so that the grain which is stored in these granaries, they must not get spoiled. So for example, but simple sa hai. So suppose granaries are there. Then in these granaries, if there are not strategic pores, kahin se pores nahi hai, to what will happen? So if you store grains, suppose that if you're storing wheat, and as you know that every grain has a moisture होता है. घर पे भी कभी देखना that if you have stored the grain, after 1 week you put your hand into the grain, there would be warmth. Then so there would be warmth. How come this warmth? So the moisture which is there, it is uprising, and because of which the warmth is created. In biology you study, or science and technology you studied anaerobic fermentation. So whenever there are no pores, so then anaerobic fermentation will happen, and then after the entire grain is spoiled. But here at regular intervals they have created the pores so that the moisture which is rising, okay, exchange of gases are happening. Okay, so with the exchange of gases the grains will not get spoiled. Okay, so this is the technique that they have employed. Now modern times में क्या होता है, that we dry the grains to the max at the top of our house, ठीक है, रूफ पे ले जाके उसको अच्छे से सुखा देते हैं, and then what we do, we go in that dangerous way, we store our grains. You know how? We put sulfas into it. Sulfas, you know ना? हाँ, किसी ने खाया भी है? So sulfas, you know, insecticide, so that anaerobic fermentation does not happen. So the much organic way of living was there in the Indus Valley. Now we have moved towards the easy solutions, but not the right solutions. Okay? So these were made in a scientific way so that the grains must not get spoiled. So granaries were also created in this part of town, and another important feature was the provision of the common bath. So provision of the common bath, meaning that this is a particular small type of a lake or small type of a pond, but it is a stepped pond, meaning stairs are created and very much finished. Then so very much finished. For example, charcoal flooring was done, and the stairs of this common bath were created from the burnt brick. Okay, so they were not created from the stone, they were created from the burnt brick, and it was meant for the ritual bathing, meaning किसी festivity पे, किसी special occasion पे people were taking the bath into this particular common bath. Then the best example of the common bath is the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. So Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, and I'll tell you the dimensions of it, or not dimensions basically, the details of this Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. So when it comes to this Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro, so stairs were created in north and south direction. This question has been asked actually in the prelims paper. So stairs कौन से direction में बनाया था? So stairs were created in north and south direction, and particularly in this direction, changing rooms with washrooms were created in the east and in the west. So these areas, changing room and the washrooms were created. So mention a little bit, though structure मैंने lower town में बनाया है, but it must be there in this one. So you write, mention. Generally, Indus towns were divided into two parts. That is upper town, and lower town. That is upper town and lower town. Full stop. So mention, upper town was created on upraised platform, and generally they were fortified. Then mention, in this part of town, mainly administrative buildings. In this part of town, mainly administrative buildings were created. Full stop. Apart from it, granaries were created. So spelling of granary, G-R-A-N-A. Granaries were created for the storage of grains. Full stop. Then mention, storage of grains. These were created scientifically. So that they must not get spoiled. Due to anaerobic fermentation. Then due to anaerobic fermentation. Full stop. Then paragraph change. Mention, another remarkable feature of the upper town was the provision of common bath. Then in this you write, the best example is Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. The best example is the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro. ग्रेट बाथ ऑफ मोहनजोदारो, ठीक है। देन इसके थोड़ी सी डिस्क्रिप्शन लिखो, यू राइट लिटिल बिट मोर अबाउट इट। सो राइट, it is a stepped water tank. It is a stepped water tank. Stepped water tank. Full stop. Stairs are created in north and south direction. Stairs are created in north and south direction. Moreover, stairs were made from burnt brick of same shape and size. Then full stop. On the east and west side, galleries, changing rooms, and washrooms were created. Gallery, changing rooms and washrooms were created. Then, so this is what is about the Great Bath of Mohenjo-daro's detail. Okay? So it is there in the upper part of the town. Now let's come to the lower part of the town. So अब इसको थोड़ा देर समझो that what all things are there in the lower part of the town. So when it comes to the lower part of the town, so it is the biggest part of the town and it is meant for the habitation of the commoners. Commoners meaning everyone. Okay? So everyone. Moreover, when we look at this particular part of the town, so it has been divided into various sectors. So let's divide it into various sectors. So I'm not creating the complete image. यहाँ तक अपने काम तक का रख लेते हैं यहाँ पे. So various sectors. Then on both the sides of the road, then when it comes to, so both the sides of the road, just give me 1 minute. Yeah, fine. So both the sides of the road, drains were created. So both the sides, as we can see, so this is symbolic image which I am creating. And these, the second color is for the drains. And these drains were covered with the stone slab or brick slab. So एक बात ध्यान रखना, that keep in mind that the only place where we see in Indus Valley town the stone is used, that is the coverage of the drains. उसके अलावा rest of the places they haven't used the stone. ठीक है? So generally they are using, not generally, all the places they are using the burnt brick of same shape and size. Later on we'll write the size also. So the Indus towns were divided into many sectors and each of the sectors, ठीक है, that each of the sectors had a very good network of the road then, and these roads used to cut each other at right angle. So as you can see that it is 90 degree, which is right angle. Then on both the sides of the road, drains were created and these drains were covered with the either stone slab or the brick slab. Then we'll go into the further details that what is inside the sector, but I need to talk a little bit more about the drains. Then, so once you look into the drain inside, then, so once you look into the drain, what you'll find that at regular intervals in the drains, there are cesspits. Okay? So these are cesspits. In modern times, you call these cesspits as manhole. I hope you know. अभी ओल्ड राजेंद्र नगर जाओ, रोड क्रॉस करो, वो डब्बे बने हुए ना गोल गोल से. So round dabbas which are there, boxes are there, that is the manhole. Then, so why these were created, these cesspits? So there is a purpose that why these cesspits were created. So these cesspits, as regular interval, in-depth areas were created and these cesspits are covered with the gypsum. Okay? So they are covered with the gypsum. So these all places gypsum. Now, what is the use of the gypsum in it? Chalo, I'll take you to the 2000s or 2005, 2006. So before the invention of the RO mineral water filters, okay, in each of the Indian houses, particularly in the urban landscape and then also in semi-rural landscape, people were using the steel ka dabbas for the water filtration. You remember? Some of you must have seen. और उसमें बीच में there used to be a candle. Then, so that candle, so on the upper part of the steel box, you are putting the water. The candle is there, that is filtering the water. 2 से 3 घंटे में, within 2 or 3 hours, it is going down. Then, so what was this candle made up of? Gypsum. Okay? So gypsum has a quality of the water filtration. So now, since so many impurities are coming over here, so what this gypsum is doing, that this is filtering the water and clean water is recharged into the ground. And the impurities are remaining over here, and these impurities are removed from the, they had the process of removing it. So they had a very good hygiene sense, okay? And cleanliness was very much maintained in the Indus Valley civilization. I hope you're getting it. And moreover, in the modern times, we do have many problems with the drainage system, क्योंकि हम plastic use करते हैं. Then all of us, this small plastics, okay? Where these plastics will land up? One fine day when the rain is happening, we have thrown the biscuit packets and the Lays and the chips packets, everything. It's all lands up in the drain. And that's how the urban drainage problem happens. But in Indus Valley civilization, there was no plastic. It was all organic. So it was easy to clean these all things. Then, so that is to be remembered. So cesspits were the important features of the Indus Valley drains. You write this much, then we'll add a later part. So change paragraph and then you mention lower town. So in lower town you write lower town was mainly meant for habitation of the commoners, and it was the largest part of town. Full stop. Largest part of the town. It had very good network of roads. Which used to cut each other at right angle. Full stop. At both the sides of the road, drains were created. Covered with either stone slab or brick slab. Full stop. These drains had cesspits. At regular intervals. These drains had cesspits at regular interval, which were coated with gypsum. Then mention gypsum filtered. Fill se लिखो after full stop. Gypsum filtered the waste water. And recharged ground with clean water. Then, so this is about the drains. Now, so as we mentioned that the towns were divided into many sectors, and these sectors, ठीक है? So these sectors, when we look at it, so houses, अब ध्यान से इसको भी समझना, that houses, this is main road, this is main road, but the houses were never created facing the main road. The main gate of the houses were never facing the main road. It was inside. So maybe किसी का अगर जो घर है तो it is created. So main gate is over here, but not on this side, not on this side. Some and then over here also. So main gate is on this side, or maybe on this side of this home, but not facing the main road. So people ask that why this was done. So maybe it was done to to keep their privacy intact. Okay, so to keep their privacy intact, one may ask a question that didn't they had the doors in their houses? That they must be keeping it closed. So the answer is yes, they didn't had any doors in their houses. Only the gates are there. That's why they are keeping in the other direction. So you're right. Towns were generally divided into many sectors. Towns were generally divided into many sectors inside which the houses were created. Inside which the houses were created with burnt brick of houses were created with burnt brick of same shape and size in the ratio of 4:2:1. Same shape and size in the ratio of 4:2:1. And what is this? So one would be the length, one would be the width, and other is the height. ठीक है? So length, width and height. ठीक है? Then mention, generally houses were not created facing the direction of main road. Facing the direction of main road. Facing the direction of main road. Full stop. Perhaps it was done to keep their privacy intact. Perhaps it was done to keep their privacy intact. Now one last discussion. So when we further look at it, so inside these sectors, okay, so inside these sectors, many houses were created. Then, so houses, we come across single story house, we come across the example of the double story house, and even we do have the triple story house. So single story, double story, even triple story. But then these all houses are nearby. ऐसा नहीं है कि single story houses would be only in one place, double story at other place. So basically this is indicative that there is inequality in the society, but society is not discriminatory, meaning that people of the lower income can live with the people of the higher income. Okay? Moreover, each of the house has a separate provision of the kitchen, okay, washrooms, and then each of the house was connected with the main drain in a gradient manner. Okay? So you write, mention that inside the sectors, we come across okay, the examples of single story house, single story house, double story, and even triple story house. Double story and even triple story house. Then triple story house. Full stop. Then though Inequality can be seen, though inequality can be seen, but society was not discriminatory. Inequality can be seen, but society was not discriminatory. Full stop. Then mention. Each of the house had separate bedroom, kitchen and washrooms. Moreover, the houses were connected with the main drain. The main drain. Then, so this is the general depiction of the Indus Valley house. Indus Valley civilization planning, the 2-layer planning, but there is one city which has a 3-layer planning, and that city is the धोलावीरा. ठीक है. सो धोलावीरा विच इज इन गुजरात. ठीक है. सो रन ऑफ कच्छ के पास में है. I hope you know run of Kutch, the upper part of the Gujarat, ठीक है, and the white desert which is there going towards the Pakistan. ठीक है. So in the run of Kutch area, this town is there, Dholavira, which is considered to be the most advanced town of the Indus Valley civilization, and it has a 3-layer planning, meaning that there are 3 parts of the city, the upper town, middle town, and the lower town. ठीक है. So mention, you write that paragraph change करके. ठीक है. Town of Dholavira is an exception. Town of Dholavira is an exception to the 2-layer planning. Then mention in this part, the town was divided into 3 parts. That is, town was divided into 3 parts. That is, upper town, middle town, and the lower town. एक और स्पेशलिटी है धोलावीरा की. चलो, but I don't know you have written or not. Radial drainage system. Have you heard about it? Have you written? क्लास में लिखा है ना, तो फिर मैं दोबारा नहीं लिखवाऊंगा. In history part, this question was asked last year. Dholavira was in the prelims paper. ठीक है, and Dholavira was given the UNESCO heritage status also. ठीक है, so लिख लो. चलो, mention another notable feature of Dholavira. Another notable feature of Dholavira is radial drainage system. Recently, after full stop, site of Dholavira was included in UNESCO. Recently, site of Dholavira was included in the UNESCO heritage site. Then, so this is what is about the Indus Valley civilization that we needed to discuss, and some parts you must have done in your ancient classes about their burial practices, these all stuff, so that you must have done. अब वो नहीं है तो मैं I cannot do that thing, I can only discuss little bit. ठीक है. So एक काम करना, that it's all about that complementation of the thing. So anyone who has a good handwriting and clear handwriting, bring your notes of ancient and medieval. I'll see that what sir has done. जो उनसे छूट गया होगा, I will include in your classes. ठीक है? Will that be fine? So I think your handwriting is good. Bring it tomorrow, next class. ठीक है? You have done it. Yeah, so bring it and I'll just see that what has been done. So जो भी छूटा होगा I will incorporate in your classes. ठीक है, चलो. So thank you and good night to all of you.